Hey beautiful friends, I hope you're doing well. My name is Scarlett and I do weekly videos about tarot, paganism, and magic. So if you are new here, do please take a moment to subscribe down below. And for this particular video, it's pretty exciting, or at least I'm excited by it, because I am going to be showing you my tarot deck collection. And this collection has grown and evolved over time. So I started learning about tarot and discovering tarot when I was 13, and I'm 29 now. So I've had a lot of time to play around with different decks, learn from different decks, and pass on decks, you know, that might not fit with my particular style. So my current collection, I would say, is probably around maybe 20 decks. Though I do tend to kind of rotate decks in and out depending on how I like them and their use in readings. So sometimes I might have a deck for a few months and then I will trade it with another reader. So I'm very much in belief that your deck collection can evolve and you can pass on decks if they're not serving you to other people, which is why I am also doing a giveaway. So stay tuned to the end of this video because I will actually be doing a giveaway for 3 of my tarot decks. So if you are a tarot reader or an aspiring tarot reader or just want to grow your own collection a little bit, definitely stay tuned and I'll show you more about which decks I'll be giving away and how to enter the giveaway. So let's jump right in, and I'm going to be going over the decks kind of by category. So we're going to start with kind of more historic and traditional decks. Then we're going to go into decks that are based on certain artists or artistic styles. Then we're going to go into modern contemporary decks, and then kind of into oddball decks slash oracle decks to fit in all of the ones that don't work with any of those other categories. So we're going to start with historical and traditional decks, and we will get started. I have here the VISCONTI-SFORZA deck. So this deck came about in the mid 1400s and is by some accounts the earliest tarot deck, depending on what you believe. And it's got a lot of kind of gold imagery. The originals do have kind of a gold leaf backing here. And this deck, interestingly, has no names at the bottom and no numbers. So you kind of have to know your stuff in order to be able to read with this one. It's often a deck I turn to when I am doing my tarot lessons because it's fun to trace the history of some of the core archetypes, like the magician here. Though in terms of doing readings, I don't often use this deck for readings. The next historical deck is the Tarot de Marseille. And I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but this is the Jorodowski version of the Marseille deck. And I got this version because of the really vibrant colors represented here. I think this deck is absolutely gorgeous. So I really do love this deck, and I do tend to read with it along with using it as a great resource when going over the history of tarot. And then of course you cannot have a tarot deck collection video without the classic Rider-Waite. And this is the Universal Weight edition of the Rider-Waite deck. And this particular deck is one that I've had since I was 13 years old, so it is really important and personal to me. I use this deck daily. I use it for readings, I use it for lessons. This is such a versatile and amazing deck. So I have probably the deepest connection with this Rider-Waite deck out of any deck in my collection. Then we are moving on to the Thoth deck, which is of course the infamous deck created by Aleister Crowley. And this deck I have trimmed the edges, and I am planning on doing gold on the edges too, I think. This is a popular deck among a lot of my students. A lot of people tend to really gravitate towards these saturated hues and this kind of often geometric, often Egyptian influenced symbolism here. It really combines a lot of fascinating occult history and mythology. So there's really a lot to unpack about this deck. So down the road, I will be doing a much more comprehensive video all about the Thoth deck. Okay, next we are moving into decks that are based on a particular artist or artistic style. So we are going to start with the Da Vinci deck, and this is a deck based on Da Vinci's drawings specifically. So you have a lot of kind of images from his various sketches, some mechanical drawings. So a good variety here of really kind of beautiful images that he has done. And each one is of course corresponded with a particular tarot card. And I actually did art history in college, so I am a big fan of decks that kind of work within those themes of different artists or artistic styles and types. This is the Art Deco deck, so it's based on kind of various Art Deco imagery and styles. And then I also have the MUCHA deck, which is based off of the artist MUCHA and is in an Art Nouveau style. And I love Art Nouveau in terms of architecture and design. So this deck I really kind of feel connected with. I just love that moon card. So a really beautiful one here, and gorgeous backings on this one as well. Next we have the Alchemistic Tarot, and this one is actually based on woodcut prints, and they added kind of a more modern background, but each of these is based on a particular woodblock print or image, and a lot of these are from very historic grimoires. So kind of an interesting concept on this particular deck. And then the last deck in this category is my Botticelli Gilded deck. So this one does have kind of gold detailing on the backgrounds, and I did the edges in gold as well to kind of further that gold motif. And this is based on the artwork of Botticelli. So you'll see some of kind of really famous images from his paintings depicted in various formats. So this is the Lover's card, for example. Here's the Fool. So this one is really stunning. I love using this one. I think it's really beautiful what they did with his various paintings and how they incorporated it within the major and the minor arcana. So that is my collection of decks based on art and artists and artistic styles. Okay, this is definitely going to be the largest category, which is what I would define as more modern or contemporary decks. And we are starting with the Wild Unknown, which is definitely a favorite among a lot of tarot readers. I use this one for readings a lot. I find that people really do connect strongly with the imagery in this deck. So next we have the Fountain Tarot, which is beautiful. It has these silver edging and beautiful backings on the Fountain Tarot as well. And this one's kind of almost more watercolor based, more intuitive, very imaginative. I definitely have been enjoying working with this one. I got this a couple months ago. I find some of the images very powerful, especially like this Nine of Swords here. And then we have the Mesquite Tarot, which is a smaller deck, and it's very kind of modern and minimalist in its interpretation of the images. You can see the Death card there. But I do like this one. I like the kind of, in general, the color scheme. It's very muted, and I find it kind of very relaxing. I find this to be a very meditative deck. Okay, next we have the After Tarot. So this is actually based on a Rider-Waite deck. So it takes the Rider-Waite deck and then it shows you what the images would be like a moment after they are depicted in the Rider-Waite deck. So it's similar, but there are subtle differences in each of the images. Like for the strength card, for example, she's hugging the lion as opposed to kind of putting her hands in the lion's mouth in the original. So I do like working with this deck. This particular Hermit is one of my favorite interpretations of the Hermit card. Okay, moving on, we have the Invisible Light Tarot. So this is based on photographs of people, and the minors are based on the elements. So instead of wands, cups, swords, and pentacles, you have earth, air, fire, and water. So some are black and white, and then some are in color, kind of very modern in style. Kind of makes me think of something millennials or Gen Z would be interested in. No harm in that, I'm a millennial myself. This one is the Night Sun Tarot. This has a lot of interesting details in the back of these images, a lot of kind of hidden text and meanings. I absolutely adore this death card, death being depicted as a pregnant woman. I find that very fascinating and interesting. And this deck is in kind of a more like graphic design style. So normally I don't gravitate towards this style, but some of the cards I really related to. So I ended up getting this one. And then we have the Spellcaster's Tarot, which is a really great deck if you're looking to have a better handle on the symbolism in the images. So for example, the infinity sign is as a snake. He also has kind of the Ouroboros belt that you see in the Rider-Waite, but there's kind of a lot going on in his altar table, different symbolism. So this one's a really great deck if you are working on learning the meanings of the cards. I actually use this one fairly frequently in my lessons to students because this one I think does handle the symbolism in tarot very well. And then I have the Mermaid Tarot for all those sea witches out there. Just kind of this is a very fun deck. I don't personally use it that often. It's in almost like that like Sailor Jerry tattoo style, some of the images, but I think it's just really beautiful, and of course I do love mermaids. So let's see, next we have the Dark Days Tarot. So this is a square deck, and then you have all of the images are in black and white. So you have the majors in with white in the background, and then you have the minors with black. So the whole deck is kind of black and white drawings, very contemporary, kind of a more trendy style if I had to define it. There are a lot of mermaids in this deck too, I would admit. But this is a fun one. I like working with this one every once in a while. This is a fairly new deck. This is the Inspirational Tarot. I love the silver kind of on the backs of these decks. I'm definitely going to do the edges in silver too. This one is more minimalist in color palette, but the colors are really vibrant. They're that blues, purples, pinks. So visually, I think it's a very stunning deck. I haven't worked with this particular deck much, but I do plan on working with it more in the future. This is the English Magic Tarot, and I bought this deck because I love a puzzle to solve. And this deck has a puzzle. There are words written in a variety of different ancient alphabets, and your job is really to translate them, put them in the correct order, and find the hidden message. So you can see each card has a type of writing to uncover, and this took me several months to solve the puzzle, but it was really fun. So if you like being a nerd about ancient alphabets and translating things, then this could be a fun deck for you. This one's also based on English magic history. So for example, you have like the emperor being depicted as Henry VIII and things like that. So this is a really fun deck, and again, it's got this kind of beautiful muted tones, very autumnal, if I might say so, in the color scheme there. Then we have our last two decks in this category. This is the EROS deck, And this is a very flirty deck, I would say. It's a little bit inappropriate, so please don't tag this video or report it. But yeah, so this is kind of a fun play on the Marseille deck, but does so in a kind of a playful, sexy, humorous manner. So this is really fun. I love this deck. And by the same company, you have the Pagan Otherworlds deck, which is one of my all-time favorites. It's based in kind of this more Renaissance-y style, but I find these images are absolutely stunning. I think each one does look like a painting, so I gravitate towards this deck a lot. This particular interpretation of death is one of my absolute favorites. So I'm a big fan of this deck, the Pagan Otherworlds. Okay, I have 3 more decks to show you that don't really fall into any other particular category. So this one is the Spirit of the Moon deck, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's got this gorgeous kind of silvery detail on it, but it is an oracle deck. So this is probably pretty much the only oracle deck I own. I tend to be a tarot purist and stick with mostly tarot decks, but every once in a while it's fun to take a look at an oracle deck. So this one's kind of based on the different moon cycles and the traditional names for the moons during the year too. Like, for example, here you have the honeymoon, here is the blessing moon. So very kind of beautiful deck that I use every great once in a while as kind of an additional card that I might draw for a tarot reading to gain a bit more insight. I also use this in a variety of kind of rituals and spell works for SPATs in particular, because it is so moon based. Then I have here the True Black Tarot, and the reason it's in this category is because this isn't a complete deck yet. So I got an advanced copy of some of the cards that the creator has done so far. So it's not really usable in the sense of doing readings because it's not a 78 card deck so far, though I definitely plan on getting it as soon as the full deck is available. But I do use this deck for things like ritual and spell work, and I find it absolutely stunning. I love the detail, how the backings do change with the light, and even in the particular images, for example, there is a lot of movement in the play of light in these images. So such a beautiful deck that I cannot wait to get the full version of this one. And then the last one is an oracle deck based on the artist Edward Gorey, who does this kind of really quirky art. If you are into, I guess, maybe like Tim Burton-esque things, you might be into this particular oracle deck. So kind of very spooky images, a lot of them, and definitely not the traditional tarot cards, but it is kind of fun to play around with this deck. So some really spooky ones, but yeah, so this is kind of just a fun deck that I got because I like the artist, but it's more of an oracle deck as opposed to an actual tarot deck. So I hope you enjoyed this video of me going over my tarot deck collection, and I wanted to tell you a bit more about the giveaway that I'm doing. So I will be giving away 3 of the tarot decks that I showed you, and all 3 decks will go to one individual. And in order to enter the giveaway, it's pretty simple. All you need to do is be subscribed to this channel and leave a comment down below, and then to also follow me on Instagram. So on Instagram, I am at Arcane Alchemy, and I'll post the link to my Instagram in the description down below. So it's just those 3 steps: be subscribed to the YouTube, leave a comment down below on this YouTube video, and then also to follow me on Instagram. So the first deck that I'm going to be giving away is the Art-Deco deck. So this is the one that is based on the Art Deco style of artwork. So I've had this one for a few years, I believe, and I do like it, but you know, I feel like it's time to pass it on. So I think that it will do well in someone else's home. And then the second deck that I will be giving away is the Alchemistic Woodcut Tarot. And this one will come in its box, and then inside the box there is the guidebook for this deck. And then the deck itself is based on woodblock prints from a variety of different sources. So these prints come from various grimoires and magical texts. So it's a really interesting deck if you like researching occultism, if you are really into symbolism, things like that. And then the last deck for the giveaway is the Da Vinci Tarot. So this is the one that is based on the drawings of Da Vinci. So this one has a variety of kind of sketches that Da Vinci did. Some of them are kind of more larger drawings, some of them are depict humans, some of them depict objects. It's got really pretty backings, kind of a silvery style. And then this one also comes with the box and a corresponding booklet as well. So you do get the full booklet on this one. So yeah, so those are the 3 decks that I will be giving away, and I will be announcing the winner for the giveaway on the autumn equinox, which is September 22nd. So I do hope you'll take a moment to enter, and definitely share the video with anyone else that you feel would be interested in entering this giveaway, and we'll see how this goes. I do have a lot of other stuff that I've been trying to find a new home for, so if this giveaway goes well, I do plan on doing more in the future. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all next week. Bye.